Okay, so today we're gonna do the particle system. For this, we will need to add a projectile for the character. We will create a new scene. We will need a certain type of node for the projectile. Let's try and see other node. Rigid, we want a rigid body 2D. Because we also want it to move in the scene. Now we have a warning here. It says that we don't have any collision shape. So we are going to add a collision shape to it. We're going to add a child node. And here we're going to write collision shape 2D. After this, we will need to set the collision shape. We still don't have anything. I'm just going to have in a moment. New rectangle shape 2D. We're going to use that. Now, we have the collision shape, but we don't have anything here. We will need to add a sprite. For this, we will add a child node. And in here, in the child node, we need to add a sprite. Sprite 2D. We don't need an animator sprite, we only need a simple sprite 2D. For the sprite 2D, we will need to set its texture. Its texture, we have here an object. I'm going to drop it right here, and we have the projectile that we want to animate. For this projectile, we'll see how it will look later in the scene. But for that, we first need to set up the collision shape. So we are setting up the collision shape. It should cover the whole object. After this, we will need to add the particle system. So Godot has a particle system to add some special effects. And it's better to use that than to use normal hand-drawn animations. We will still use one as a texture and then replicate it using particles. So to add a particle system, we right-click on the rigid body, add child node, and here we're going to write particles. We want particles. CPU particles is fine. And we have the particle system. We can add a small glow on the sword. To add a small glow, we can change its texture. So for that, let's handle this one first. Let's add some particles flowing from the tip of the sword to the ends of it. So we have it right here. We can change its location. And here we have the properties. This is what we're going to work with. For the particles, we can increase the amount. We will do that later. But first, we would need to edit the particle flags. Let's see where there are. We have here particle flags. We align it with the sword. We will do that because the sword will change its position in the scene and the particles need to be aligned. Okay, with the direction of the velocity. And then at the time, we're gonna edit this later. Drawing. In drawing, local coordinates. We need to check this. The particles with this will use the parent node. So it will move and rotate alongside the object in this case. So we need to have that checked on. For the emission shape, we're going to change the emission shape to a rectangle. Okay, so you can see instead of 1 point, it's a bit bigger right now. Now, particle flags we changed. Direction. We want it to flow along the swirl. So for the direction, we're going to change here. Instead of 1, we're going to give -10. And we still have something to do before that. Gravity, we need to set it to 0. So we have them gathered in this spot. And then after we set the gravity, we'll need to change the velocity. Instead of 0, we're going to give it some velocity. And we want a bit more particles. Let's say 60. Okay. They have a kind of big spread. We don't want that much on the swirl. So this will simulate air, how it's gonna cut through the air. We want less spread, maybe 10, like this. And they live a bit too long, so we're gonna change the lifetime of the particles. Let's see how is a 0.4, 0.3. Oh, 0.4. Okay, we're gonna let it here, and we can add other properties here. Let's see, explosiveness. Explosiveness is if we want to send all the particles in a burst or continuous flow. We can check it a bit, add a bit of randomness. And here, lifetime randomness. So some particles live longer, some live less. Looks a bit better. We're still going to change other things. So emission shape we changed, time we changed, particle flags we changed, direction we changed, gravity is changed. The initial velocity, we're going to add also some angular velocity. So for the angular velocity, here, 1 moment, we can draw this. I'm gonna add 14, and the maximum, let's say 100. And we can also add a velocity curve. So let's make them a bit slower. Okay. Now, linear acceleration. We're gonna change that a bit. We're gonna give it a 2 acceleration and a max acceleration of 20. Okay. And we're gonna change the scale so they look a bit different, one from another. Let's change the time, 0.5. Okay, and we're gonna now change the size of the particles. So some particles are smaller and some are bigger. That we can change at scale. Let's give a 0.2. So you can already see the difference. Some are smaller, some are bigger. And let's say 0.8. Let's just leave 1. But we can also add a curve. So in this curve, we can edit when it's gonna be smaller and when it's gonna be larger. So in here, if we have the curves from 0 to 1, it's going to start small and then it's going to get bigger. But we will invert this a bit and have it like such. Next part. Color. We don't really want them white. We want them to be similar a bit to the color of the sword. So, color. Here we can add a flat color, or we can add a gradient. We want to use a gradient for this. By default, the gradient is black towards white, but we can change that. Click on this, and we're going to change the color. Let's see. Okay. So this is one effect added. This is the default effect for a CPU particle. We can also add custom particles if needed. To add a custom particle, we will need a texture. So we can add multiple particle systems to an item. In this case, we will add a new one, another particle system, and in this one, we would use a texture. Add drawing. We will take, I have a texture here called spotlight. We can see it from here, and I'm going to add this one. Okay, it's currently this size, so we're going to make it a bit smaller. Scale. 0.1, 0.1. We still need to change a bit. Transform. We're going to change the transform. Here, we're going to change the scale. The scale will be 0, 1. We want them smaller. And 1, 1. Scale. Okay, and we can change that from the scale. Perfect. It's a bit better now. We can change it to 0.3, I think, to 0.2 to 0.4. We're gonna leave it like this. And we're gonna change the position. Let's say we want to start from there. Now, gravity, we're gonna put at 0, and we have a shine in here. Now, it's a bit too shiny. Okay, okay. Next part. Acceleration, let's see. Emission shape. We are also gonna change the color a bit in a moment. Let's make sure the direction, we don't really need this. We don't really need those. And okay. Now we have a slight shine on the sword. We can decrease it a bit more, but I think 6 should be enough. Okay, now the color. We want to change the color a bit as well. So for the color, we have here color. Same thing, new gradient. We're gonna change it. We want a transparent blue. And this should go from white to a bit of more blue, but we change it. Okay. So this is our current sword. Now we want to change the rigid body as well. We can put a lesser mass. We don't want it to have some mass. And we'll leave like this. We need to save the scene. One moment. And here we're gonna save it as, no, we're gonna rename it. Rename. Sword projectile. And now we're gonna save it. Control S, and we're gonna save it in scenes. Save. Great. Now we can add it in scene to see how it looks, and then we'll edit it. No, it's not that one. So it kind of looks like this currently. We'll edit it and see. We will probably need to have it smaller. Form. Save. Let's see how it looks now. Okay, it looks a lot better now. It looks similar to the swords. And when it will fly, it will leave trails behind it, and we'll have some small particles in here. Now we will need to write a script. So we want the player to be able to shoot this type of projectile. We're going to add a script, sword projectile. And here we would need to make the sword, we need to assign a velocity and a speed to the sword. So when we instantiate it, it will start flying in a direction. We will add a velocity variable. We just need to initialize it 0, 0. We will give the we will change this from the player's script, and we will need a speed of the projectile. Then we will need to make it move. For that, we have a move and collide function in Godot that takes a vector 2 and the velocity that we can multiply it with the speed. So we have velocity normalized multiplied by delta multiplied by speed. Okay, so we have this part. Now we will need to instantiate on an action for the player. The player currently just have the movement and nothing else. We will edit it. We need a variable to instantiate the sword that calls this, that can hold the scene. So variable sword equals with preload. We're going to preload the asset, and here we can find it in here, or we can drag and drop it like this. And now it's fine. What else do we need? Well, we will need a certain point from where the sword is instantiated. For that, we'll go to the player, 2D, and we need to edit it a bit. We need to add a sword point from where the swords are spawning and a node. We will see why. We first add a node 2D. We just need a normal node 2D. And then on this node, let's see its location. Oh, it's here. We don't want it here. This is the node 2D. We want it around here, at the center, around the center of the character. And then in the node 2D, we instantiate another node as a child node, same node 2D, and we will change its name. So we can differentiate them. Rename sword point. Now we're going to change the position. Why? We have the sword point around here. So from this point, we have the sword coming, shooting out. Why we used a node 2D? Because we want to shoot in all directions. So for example, and if we want to shoot from upwards, we want to change the spawning position to be here. So it won't spawn from here. For this, we need a leverage to rotate the node. For example, if we rotate this one, we can see that the point rotates as well in the direction of my mouse. Okay, that's great. So we have this up. Now back to the script. One moment. Okay, we loaded this. Now we need to edit the script. We also need a variable to point towards the sword point. This would be an onReady var, so when the game loads, we have the variable. For this, we have onReady. OnReady variable, we can call it sword point equals width, and now we need to call this node to give the position, and that's it. You just drag and drop it here, and it takes the node. After this, we need to call the sword position. Sword position. We need to give a position to this, so we'll take the variable and pass it right here. Sword position equals width sword point. So the reference to the node point global position. Okay. So we have a reference to the spawn point of our projectile. Now we need a function to spawn the projectile function. Shoot sword, for example. And now we will need a variable to instantiate our sword. So we have this sword and we need to instantiate. To do that, we have variable sword shoot, for example, equals with sword dot instantiate. And now this function will instantiate a sort, a scene of that type. We need to get the parent to know where this is instantiated. So this needs to be instantiated somewhere. It will be on the parent. The parent will be the player. Get parent dot add child, and we add child the sword shoot. Now we need to give the instantiation position. Dot position equals with. We need to give the position of the node 2D. Dot global position. And we also want to give it the rotation. So we are going to copy and paste it. And here, global rotation. Now we need to give it a velocity depending on the start point of the mouse. Dot velocity equals with. To get the global mouse position, so to make it point where we have the mouse and shoot it in that direction, we have get global mouse position. And we will subtract the position of the instantiated object. Okay. We're almost done with this. Here, in the physics process runs at every frame. So here we would want to have the instantiation. But we will need an action. So on what action we want to put this function? We want to put it on click. For that, we click on project settings, input map. On input map, we can add a new action. We can call it shoot, add, and in here we add an input. On what input we want to have it? We want to have it on mouse. 1 minute. Left mouse button. I just clicked on here and it got me the left mouse button. Okay. And now I have a shoot action that's triggered on click. In here, if input. So if I click, if input dot is action just pressed, and here the new action shoot, we want to call the function shoot sword. This one. We want to call the function. And it needs to be with indentation. And here I forgot 2 points. I can run and see what we get, if we get something. Okay. We have an error here. Physics process should sort in the function here. Invalid index position on base rigid body with value type of log. Let me check a bit and see what I'm missing. Sort position is sort point global position. Nice it. We have the velocity, we added the child, color position. Let's make sure that we also have the node. Already we are the sword point. One moment, go to D, look at. We want to change the position of the node that spawns the sword. Get global mouse position. Map. Okay, it still doesn't spawn. Invalid set index position base with value type of float. Okay. What does it want? Change the size and children collision shape instead. Moment. This we don't need that. Okay, sprite 2D. Transform 1. And the sprite, I'll change the sprite. I don't think it's this problem. And I need to stop that. Hmm. Okay. Oh, so that's the problem. It spawns from that part. Okay, so it has this here. First player. This, did I save this? And in the map, let me add it again. Player. on from that part. Function physics process. Oh, sword shoot that position. Mhm. Okay, based on vector do function. Okay, spawns from there. Why does it spawns from there? First layer, which should take the node. Doesn't have the node. One moment. Hmm. Oh, yes, I forgot to attach the script. Okay. Delete map from the map. I need to play it. And I still have an error. One moment, I attached the script, but I still have. Oh, now it's at rotation. And it's still okay. So let's check it. In here, process. Physics process. One map. I almost popped it. I want so, and it's from there now. And if I click again, we have it at this point. I'm gonna comment it a bit. Okay, so now it does something, and we need to see what to fix. First, we're gonna disable the collision shape for a bit, so it won't drag our character down. Okay, now it doesn't drag our character down, and we can shoot it, but we don't have the rotation currently. So let's check what's with the rotation. Partially fixed. A sort point dot global rotation. Oh, I don't want that. Map, play, global rotation. Okay. It doesn't have a global rotation. What does it want from us? First player, point transform. Should not be from here. Transform, it's here. And the node 2D, we want to look at the mouse position. Play. Let's see where it goes. By position with type 2D. Let me try and pass it this as a variable. We might fix this later and do the rotation sort point first player. I don't want that. I just want this. And the same thing. errors. Delta stack trace load. I think we'll fix that later. We'll go to other functionalities. We'll do that tomorrow, but now we're gonna do other part of the game. One moment. Stop first player. We're gonna comment this part because this part gives that error. Let me try and give node. I'll try one more time just with the node global station. Nah, it gives the same error. I'll check that later. What's the problem with that part? Yeah, I'm gonna comment it. And currently we have this part. We have this. Is it the sprite? Tool project. I need to check the sprite. Centered. This one. Yeah, I'll change that later. So we're gonna do other stuff until then. Back to 2D. What we got until now is this part, and it starts shooting some projectile. Let's try and make it move upwards and downwards as well. For that, we're gonna edit the movement. So in this part, we have the movement. We'll edit a bit of that. What do we need to add if we want to make our custom movement? To have our custom movement, we don't need the jump. We can leave that speed, and we can make a new function movement. Layer move. Delta. In here, we want it to move on based on inputs. We have different types of default inputs. For example, if input is just action pressed, and now we have UI underline right. That means if we press the right arrow key, it's gonna start doing something. Velocity equals velocity.x. We want to move it on the x-axis equals speed. And then, yeah, speed is written like that. And then we want to set the velocity of y and the y-axis equal with 0. We don't want to move on y. And now we have else if input is action UI left, we're going to have negative speed. And the last part is up and down. Up and down. UI up, UI down. If it's up, we have negative. If it's down, we have positive. And here I need to change Y and here X, Y and here X. This function, we also need to use move and slide. Move and slide is a function called by Godot. And this function would be called in the physics process here. Player move. Delta. We have one parameter passed. And on map, let's start playing. Okay, now it doesn't stop. Why it doesn't stop? Because I did not put a condition for it to stop. Else, velocity dot x equals 0, velocity dot y equals 0. Why I didn't stop? Because I did not have a condition in case I don't press any key. So if I don't press any key, I want it to stop doing the movement. Play. Okay, it works a bit. And I need to see what's happening there. Player move. Function ready. Velocity dot y equals 0, else velocity dot y x equals 0, and then I have the movement line. Yeah, we have here is action just pressed. We don't want is action just pressed. We want if is action pressed. So we want continuous is action pressed like this. That was the problem. And now it moves in all directions. Okay. What do we want now? We can add a camera to the player because we want to be able to see what's around us. A simple way of doing that is going onto the player and then add a map camera. So right click on the player, add child node, and here we add a camera, 2D, create. So this is a simple camera 2D added. Let's run it and see what happens. We can see we have a camera that moves along the player, but it doesn't stop here. If you go there, and we don't want to be able to see this gray area. So what are we gonna do about that? Well, the camera has limits. We can impose some limits on the camera. Here, at limit. How do we know what to write at the limit? We go to the map. Okay, I have to record. We go to the map, and in here, 2D, we want to be able to see the 2D. And here we would need a node. We're gonna press add child node. We just want a normal node. Where is it added? It's here. So we take the position. What's the position is, I think this is 0. Yeah, it's 0. So add a player, we're gonna add a limit of left. Let's try 0. And let's play. We save, we play. Yeah, now we don't see the gray area anymore on the left side. Now, but we still see on the bottom, on the left, and on top. So we need to add the other limits to the camera. We'll do the same thing. We are gonna move the node. So we're gonna move the node on the top and check the limits. We'll check the transform, and the transform is at -416. So at the camera, I put on top 416, -416, I think. And let's check. Yeah. And now we don't see any gray area on top. With the same thing on the bottom and on the left. So on the left side, we have how many pixels? 705. So on the right, this is on the right, 705. And on the bottom, we have 831. We can just put it in 705, 831. So player on the right, 705, 831. Like this. Save, and we play. And now the camera stops and we don't see any type of gray area. One minute. Okay. Now let's try and add collisions. We have a collision to the player, but we need to add a collision to the tiles. We can add a collision to the river, so it won't pass to the river or the walls. For that, we have to go to the tile map. Tile set, let me check. I need to add a physics layer. I don't have a physics layer. Tile set, physics layer, add element. I needed a physics layer. And here we're gonna edit the physics layer. We can click on this because we want it to be full. And this is the mask that we added, so it's gonna consider it an object that is collidable. For this, we can edit it a bit to match the sprite. Okay, and we click it again. Then we go here. Here we have on the other side. Like this, and here on the other side. Yeah. Okay, save this. Let's play. And it collides. You can see the collision with the walls. Okay. What should we do next? Oh, the river. We need to add the collision to the river as well. So it's in the same way. We go to the tile map, tile set, and go to the river parts. To the river parts, we need to add a full for this one. And for this one, oh, I did not edit that part, but I did edit these two parts. So I'm gonna add on these two. And this one. And now they should be collidable. Okay, they are collidable right now. I cannot pass them. Okay, looks fine. What should we go for next? Oh, the game window settings. Project settings, general, window. We don't need scale anymore. Why we don't need scale anymore? Because we have the custom camera on the player, and the custom camera on the player has a zoom function. We can check the zoom, and instead of making a tree or a scale, we just press on the camera here and make it the camera zoom in. And we can try it again. And see, nothing changed, and that's good. So we removed it from the project settings, so the project won't scale the window, and you have a camera that scales that. Let's see what else we can do with the camera. We try a limit smooth, and then a rotation smooth. Let's see. I need my map. So what I did right now, you can see that the camera does not move directly with the player. The player has it needs to move a bit before the camera moves. For one moment, I don't think I set that limit yet. Camera drag, I need to enable this. So horizontal, vertical. Save. Okay. Okay, now it works. So you see, I move a bit and the camera does not move. Unlike before, if I moved a bit, the camera moved. Here I have a certain distance that lets me move the character before the camera moves around. Now, what else should we do? Um, let's try and flip the sprite. So currently, if we move to the left, the sprite still faces the right, and that's not really nice. We want it to flip the direction of the sprite. We want it to flip. For that, we'll go to the player, first player, and let's see where we're gonna edit. We also want animations for the player. So let's write the animation function. No, let's add the animations first. The first player 2D, and here animated sprite. We have idle, we have attack, and we have walk. Okay, so we have all the animations in here. We can remove this from autoplay on load, and we're gonna edit it later. I'm gonna rename it a bit. Let's check with small letter so it matches the others. Now, back to the script, first player, function, animate. Player animation. Let's call it player animate. And we're gonna pass an argument movement. Now, var direction equals with current direction. And we will need to define a current direction. Var current direction. None. Current direction would be none in the start. Okay. We'll need to define also current direction in here. So if we press right, the direction is right. If we press left, the direction is left. For up and down, I don't have any animation, so we're gonna just leave it like such. We don't have animation for up and left, so or up and down. Current direction. We're gonna change that a bit. Now, we need to pass a variable to get the animation. Var animation, we can say equals with animated sprite 2D. We need to pass it there. Now we need some conditionals. If direction equals with right, we don't want to flip the characters, so animation dot flip horizontal. We have here flip h equals with false. And we have two equal sign. Great. And if animation equals left, true. We're gonna flip the sprite. Now, we also want to animate it. We have a variable movement. Why do we need that? We need to check if the player moves or not. So if movement after the flip, if movement equals 1, so if we have movement, then we're gonna play walk right. like this. Animation. Great. Else if movement equals 0, we are going to play the idle animation. We want the idle animation. It's called idle. We're going to copy this, put it in direction left. We're going to use the same animation, but we just have the sprite inverted. Okay. Now, what do we do with this function, player animate? We're going to call it where we're going to move. Here, player animate of 1. Here, player animate of 1. And here, player animate of 0. Let's see what we get. Ah, not here. Map. Now you see the animation changed. Now we have movement animation. If we go up or down, nothing happens, and if we stay, it stays like this. We can also change the for up and down to use the walk animation. That would be no problem. We don't want the sprite inverted, so we're just gonna press this. Play 1, play 1. We don't need the direction. Okay, it works. Yep, it works. We also have, yeah, it's fine. There's a bit of a little bug because if we try and start from the beginning to move up or down, it does not animate. Why? Because it has no right or left added, no direction added. So what can we do? We can add another conditional if direction equals left or direction equals right. One moment. Oh, wait, I copied 2 times. Yeah, I copied 2 times. Or direction equals right. Now, do we want to flip it or not? Let's see what we get. No. If direction equals up or direction equals down, and here, I don't want to flip it. There's no need to flip it. And here, I'm gonna give the direction. Current direction equals up. Current direction equals down. Okay, and we have animations for up and down as well. So we have movement, we have also the camera set. We have tile maps. I think we discussed the layers and Y sort last time. Let me think, what else can we do? We can add an NPC for a moment, an enemy. Yeah, we can add an enemy. So, for this, we're gonna create a new scene. For one moment. Hmm. So projectile. Those scripts. Oh, yes, and that was the scene. I'm just gonna look all bit on this one before going on. This is a character body 2D. Hmm. Rigid body 2D. I'm gonna add a timer on this for no, I don't. Mhm. Yeah. Wow. I don't want this. I want this one to play, and it's fixed now. Yeah, I can shoot in all direction. Yeah, I didn't see it. I don't want the position. I wanted the rotation. That's how I fixed this. And now we can shoot in all directions. We can move. We just need something to shoot at. And for that, we are gonna have some enemies to instantiate. Okay, great. Oh, we can also add weather effects if we want to. Also with, let's see, I don't think I deleted it. Yeah, with GPU particles. I added some rain, and I also show you how to make the rain. See, we have some rain here, just in this part. But we can add this rain. I currently added it on the scene, but we can add the rain on the characters. So if you have some weather, it moves alongside the camera, not to just the do not have it on the map directly, as you can see. How did I make this particle? One moment. In here, I added the particle and I added it a box shape. So I assigned it a box shape. Transform. I gave it a position. So from here until here, something like that. And we have 40 mount of particles. We can, if we want more rain, more torrential rain, we can increase the numbers of particles. The texture is this one. It's a box shaped by default, particle process material, and the box extension. How big is the box? And then the velocity, change the spread, and that's it. I did not change anything else, just those parts. Okay, let's see. Yeah, let's try and add an enemy to the scene. For that, what do we need? New scene. We will need a character body. Character body 2D. In this character body 2D, what do we need? We need a shape. We will need a collision shape and an animated sprite. I don't have any animated enemies, I think. So I'm just gonna add a sprite. Attach script. No, child node, sprite. Sprite 2D. I'm just gonna add a sprite to it. And in here, let me check my, one moment, documents, and I'm gonna add an enemy from here. I think from here, I don't have any. Oh, I need to configure one of them. So I'm gonna add this rat. Oh, it has an animation, but I'm not gonna export it as an animation. I just want a sprite right now. Export as, I don't want a GIF. Well, whatever. I'm gonna export it as a GIF. Export. Yes. Yes. And let's see what I have exported. I don't know what I have exported. We'll see characters. Why doesn't it want to add? Scene project. Oh, it's a PNG. I need the PNG. I don't need the GIF. Okay. File export as sprite sheet. Open sprite sheet export. Oh, okay. And that is that animation. Great. I have a sprite sheet right now. Where did I exported it? I'm gonna enter again. File export as sprite sheet export file save as here. Great. Now I have it. Oh, great. Finally. Perfect. And we can use a animation because I have animated it seems. I'm gonna delete this, delete character body, add child node, animated sprite 2D. So this is similar to the character. I'm gonna do that later. Animation here, new sprite frames, animation default, and here I'm gonna add a new animation. One moment. Great, here. I forgot to click that. Idle animation, no, walk animation. I don't have a idle animation. I'll just use the walk animation for the idle and as well as running. And I'm gonna use from the sprite sheet this. I think I have one by, no, this is 1, 4, right? No, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, I think it's 7. Yeah, it's probably 7. Let me check the size of the sprite. A sprite. Oh, it tries to open the Steam. Boom wrap. So I have a size of 32 by 32. Okay, I don't know why it took 36. So it's 32 by 32. Why did it took 36? I don't know. So here I changed the size to 32. Great. And now they fit. And we want the walk animation, add frames, and the death animation. We're going to add a new one. We click on this button. That we do the same. 7, 1, and here 32. And this is the death animation. We have another option for the death animation. I'm going to show you that later, but currently we're going to use this. So if you press play, we can see the death animation 6, 7, 8 that loops around. Or if you go to the walk, we can see how it walks around. This is a simple animation for the character. Next part is to add a collision. Collision shape 2D. And we want it to be, no, we need a detection area, and in the detection area, because we want to detect the player. So character body, add child node, detection. No, area 2D. And in the area 2D, we add a collision shape. Great. And now we assigned a rectangle. This is the rectangle for the area. We're going to make it a bit bigger, and we're going to make it actually a circle. So if it detects a player in this area, it's going to go around for them. And now we also need a collision shape for the body. Add child node, collision shape. And for this, I'm going to add a rectangle. I'm going to keep it as a rectangle. Okay. I think we are going to stop for today. I'm just going to save the character, and we're going to continue tomorrow for the last session. Rat. We call it rat. Actually, boom rat. Great. I'm going to save the scene, and we're going to continue tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
If any questions. If not, it's fine. That would be it for today.
Okay, thank you very much.